This video, I'm going to discuss the topic of five-side machining. It's a strategy we use in CNC milling to do as much machining possible in the first setup, and then flip up, the part upside down and finish it in the second setup. In the old days on manual machines, this wasn't quite possible on odd-shaped parts like this one. But with CNC programming, making things so easy, it makes our job a lot better and much more, I guess I would say, practical and precise. So the idea is you know what your stock size is. And this part right here, you can see it's a lot smaller than the stock we're going to be using, especially on the thickness. But this is a good thing. This gives us the ability to hold the stock up to about here. If I go look at it from the side, up to about here, with the rest of it sticking out of the vise. That gives me the ability to machine the top surface and all around the other sides of it and get all this drilling and counterboring done. And then all we got to do is flip it upside down, machine off the excess stocks at the thickness, and then I do notice that there are two counterbores on the back side. So two operations, you get everything done. It's much more efficient than the old way of doing things. And this is basically just a demonstration of the concept. You know, we can go through, you can go through bit by bit planning your operations, but you got to do a little bit of thinking here. So, first operation is where we do what's called the five-side machine. Five sides being the top side, the front, the right, the back, and the left. It goes all around the part. You really want to choose the side that you can get the most done. Now, if I look at this, it's fairly similar on both sides, except for this side has is missing two counterbore features, right? So we have the little ones, but we don't have the big ones. So I picked this side as my first one because it's got a lot going on. And basically, it's the way I chose to do this was a facing operation, adaptive clearing, contouring around it, and then I had to do because of the size of this radius, my roughing cutter couldn't get into that corner, so I used a smaller cutter to get out that area. Then we went to spot drilling the small holes and drilling the big holes, boring out to get most of the material out and leave a little bit of extra. Oh no, this one didn't leave extra. Just did it right to size. No, so bored them right to size. And then last thing I did was use a chamfer cycle to just take off the sharp edges on the holes and around the part. So it even takes away the hand deburring part of it. So it does a lot. Now, if you look at the setup where our datum is, it's very easy. We can just use any corner that we want. I use the upper left, but it really doesn't matter as long as you set it up properly. It's going to work great. So what happens is this is what happens when we do the machining on that first side. As we go through each step, we milling around, finish milling it, drilling the holes, and then counterboring those holes. Finally, doing the chamfer cuts inside the holes and around the part. Okay, so this is what you got left. All right, we still have all this stock down here. Plus, on the back side, there are two counterbores we got to get at once we do that. You'll notice that I put these two holes right through the piece. There's a reason for that. When I flip this over, I want to use one of those hole locations for my datum. It's going to be much easier to line up the holes if I use the center of this hole for my X and Y G54. All right. So what we do is we're done with that one, and we're going to set up on the opposite side. So hit setup 2. And you'll notice I was able to pick the center of this hole as my datum point. Okay. One thing we have to be really careful about is when we're setting our Z heights, this is going to be a lot lower as far as where it thinks it is. So we've got to give it some extra height for clearance when we're setting our offsets. So just be aware of that. So that's that. And basically all we're doing here is facing it, and then doing the boring and the contouring and the chamfering. That's it. That's all we're doing. But here's the thing. We cannot hold this in a regular set of jaws. It's just the shape of this is too odd. It won't work. If you only hold them by this little area here and in back, this area could lift up, could lift right up out of the vise because you're not holding it tight enough. I've got another video in this series that shows you how to make soft jaws for this, to clamp this much more secure in a vise. So you want to go look at that too when you're going to get ready to set up for the second setup. All right. First setup, no big deal because it starts out as a block. We can just use a regular vise for that. But for setup 2, before we do that, we're going to definitely have to make some soft jaws.